Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is the first in a series of broadcasts for Orientation 2021. I am Olivine Thomas, and we're trying something new this year. What we're trying to do is to make orientation an individual experience for each student. So we're making a series of videos ahead of time, and we'll give you some questions, ask you to fill them out, and you get prizes and rewards, which will tell us that you've listened carefully and that you understand what has been said. We've brought in the experts, so you don't have to listen to us. We've brought in the people who set the policies and who know what they're doing. It's important that we do that because from time to time, the regulations of the university change. And so what you came in with this year will be what governs you, even if you finish the program in 10 years' time. So it's important that we do this. And this morning, we have Miss Georgia Bennett. She has been a friend of the Department of Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work for many years. She is the Assistant Registrar in the Office of Graduate Studies, which is one of the divisions in the Campus Registrar's Office at the University of the West Indies, Mona campus. Miss Bennett is an extraordinarily busy person, but she's made some time for us today. And for this, we're extremely grateful. So over to you, GP. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Olivine. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the University of the West Indies. We know you have choices, and we want to thank you for choosing the UWI to pursue your graduate studies. I will commence my presentation by giving a brief overview about the Office of Graduate Studies and Research, and then I'll bring to your attention a few of our graduate regulations. So the Office of Graduate Studies and Research falls under the direction of the Office of the Campus Registrar and the School for Graduate Studies and Research. Our main responsibilities are admissions, registration, scholarships, examinations of all theses and some research papers, and graduation. Our office is also responsible for ensuring that the university's graduate regulations are adhered to, and all our programs are governed by these regulations. The regulations for graduate certificates, diplomas, and degrees booklet, as shown on the screen, is divided into 3 sections. Section 1 has to do with general regulations. Section 2 has to do with regulations for written examinations and coursework. Section 3 has to do with regulations for examination of research papers, project reports, and theses. This booklet can be found on our website under the heading Forms and Documents. So the first regulation I like to bring to your attention is one with regards to specially admitted students. So in addition to persons who are accepted to pursue postgraduate diplomas, taught masters, professional doctorates, and research degrees, we have persons who are also accepted into the university as specially admitted students. And the regulation states that special admitted students are students accepted for limited periods to pursue courses. The processing of an application for special admission is a manual one. Therefore, it's a bit different from when you're pursuing a program at the University of the West Indies. It's a manual one whereby the applicant is required to download from our website the application form, complete it, and the courses that he or she wishes to take as a specially admitted student should be included on the form and approved by the head of department. That will be the head of the Department of Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work. Once this is completed, the form should be submitted to the Office of Graduate Studies and Research for consideration by the director. If approval is granted, a letter of admission will be sent to the applicant. The applicant is then required to indicate in writing to our office whether he or she accepts or rejects the offer. It should be noted that as a specially admitted student, You're only allowed to pursue a maximum of 12 credits in any given year and a maximum of 24 credits in total. Specially admitted students may use not more than 9 credits from any particular program towards UII certification. So although the university allow you a maximum of 24 credits allow you to pursue a maximum of 24 credits as a special admitted student over a 2-year period, when you get into a master's program, and let me give you an example, a special admitted student pursuing courses from the MSc HRD program, if successful at these courses, may apply for admission to the program. If accepted, this student can request in writing exemption with credit for the courses they successfully completed as a specially admitted student. However, not more than 9 credits can be used towards the MSc HRD program.
What this means then is that they would have to find alternative courses. To make up the difference.
Right. And just for noting also, specially admitted students are not in a program. They are just at the university pursuing courses.
And the university is not obliged to take persons just because they've done courses on a specially admitted basis.
Specially admitted, right. That's correct. Now, the next regulation I'd like to highlight is with regard to registration. Now, registration is one of our biggest challenges in the Office of Graduate Studies and Research, as many of our graduate students are not remembering to register each semester. So whatever a student is pursuing in a semester, he or she must register for it. That's the only way it can come on the transcript. That's the only way you can get your grades. So the regulation states that all students are required to register each semester, and continuing students who fail to register are deemed to have withdrawn. And registration dates are normally provided by the Office of the Campus Registrar. It is very important that students pay attention to these dates as there are deadlines within which persons are given to register. And after the deadline dates, students are required to pay a penalty fee in order to register. And the longer you take to register, the penalty fee increases. Now, students may have a good reason for not registering. It may be medical reasons, personal reasons, financial or work-related reasons. In such a case, students may ask for leave of absence. Leave of absence will not be granted for more than 2 consecutive academic years. And application for leave of absence for a semester shall be submitted by the end of the 3rd week of the relevant semester. And applications for leave of absence for the academic year shall be submitted by the end of the 3rd week of semester 1. Leave of absence, yes.
But what if it is illness and you're not ill within the first 3 weeks of the semester?
Once you submit a medical report, once it's illness, the student must submit a medical report. That report will be sent to our university clinical director, where she does her checks and balances and then responds back to our office as to whether the leave of absence should be granted or not. And if the leave of absence is after the time period, there's a penalty fee that is charged. The penalty fee starts at $4,000, and the longer you take to submit a request for leave of absence, it can go as far as to $16,000. Leave of absence request is also done online using the SAS system, that is a student administration system. And once you go into SAS, you click on the Automated Student Request Module, also known as ASRM. And that's where you request the leave of absence.
Sorry, another question. We had somebody who was trying to get onto that system yesterday to request leave of absence. So he couldn't. He was having a difficulty.
For the summer period?
Actually, it is a late application because he should have, yes, he should have registered for the summer, but that is over now. So he'll have to pay the $2,000, but it's just that he couldn't get onto the system.
I think there is an issue with the summer leave of absence request because we have brought that to the attention of the technical team.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Right. No time limits for registration. Now, let us put this on the table that some of my slides may not be applicable to students pursuing the MSc HRD program. However, they are applicable to students who are pursuing other programs or courses within the Department of Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work. And this is one of the slides. So the regulations with regards to time limits for these are research students. The regulation states that the minimum period of registration for MPhil is 2 years full-time, 4 years part-time. For professional doctorate, 3 years full-time, 4 years part-time. And for PhD, it's 3 years full-time and 5 years part-time. Candidates for the MPhil are required to submit their thesis for examination within 3 years of their initial registration for full-time studies and within 5 years for part-time studies. The regulation also states that candidates for the PhD and professional doctorate are required to submit their thesis for examination within 5 years of their initial registration for full-time studies and within 7 years for part-time studies. We're still on time limits for registration. The minimum period of registration for a taught master's degree, such as the MSc HRD, shall be 1 year full-time for 1 year for full-time students and 2 years for part-time students, unless the Board for Graduate Studies and Research in any particular case otherwise decides. Assessment of the taught component must be completed before a research paper or project report can be submitted for examination. And there are courses within the Department of Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work that have a taught component as well as a research paper at the end of, once they have completed the taught component of the program, they have a research paper or project report that they need to do. So that this regulation will be applicable to those students. The regulation also states that a candidate whose period of registration is about to end may apply for an extension of time. Such application must be accompanied by a statement explaining why the thesis, research paper, or project report has not been completed and indicating how much work remains to be done. Campus committees may approve extensions of time limits of up to 1 year for submission of project reports and research papers and up to 2 years for MPhil, PhD, and professional doctorates. And just for noting that extension of time limits, the form can be found on the Office of Graduate Studies and Research website under the heading Forms and Documents. The form must be completed by the student's supervisor, as well as the head of department, and then submitted to Graduate Studies for consideration by the director. After which, if approved, the student will be notified as well as the head of section and the supervisor. Now we are on to the next regulation, which has to do with withdrawal. There are two kinds of withdrawal from the university. You have deemed to have withdrawn and required to withdraw. And the regulation states that where a student does not meet the final deadline for submission of any requirement for a graduate certificate, diploma, degree, that student's registration and the right to re-registration shall expire at the end of the semester, during which the final deadline occurs. Such students are deemed to have withdrawn. So some courses have a coursework component and a final examination component. Students, for the coursework component, students are required to submit their coursework at the deadline date given by the department or the lecturer. If a student is unable to meet the deadline date, he or she need to provide evidence. It may be medical reason. You would need to provide a medical report. Or if it's work related, you would have to provide something from your employer as to why you were not able to meet the deadline date, because maybe you had to go overseas for work related matters. So if students do not meet the deadline date and there is no explanation as to why they cannot meet a deadline date for submission of their coursework assignment, at the end of the semester and no explanation has been given to the department or to the lecturer, the students are deemed to have withdrawn.
All right, stick another pin here. You've mentioned medical reports on several occasions. Can you explain the difference between a medical report and a medical certificate for the students? And why, yes, and what the difference is, why it is that the university wants a medical report?
The medical report is more detailed than a medical certificate. A medical certificate does ask for you to be excused and they tell you the time period. A medical report goes deeper than that. It tells you exactly what is wrong with the student. And then that is assessed by the university clinical director once she makes contact with the student's doctor. So she will gather more information. A medical certificate is very vague. It does ask us to excuse you. We don't know what is wrong with the student. And anybody can go to a doctor and ask for a medical certificate, but a medical report, something has to.
Yes, it's far
there has
more.
to be an issue with a student.
Okay, and also, it is confidential. We want the students.
It is also confidential. It is confidential.
It doesn't come to us in the departments, and it doesn't
come. The report goes directly to the director. The university clinical director.
Yeah, so what that means is that the doctor should send it directly to the university's clinical director in the health center. They should not send it to the Office of Graduate Studies, and they certainly shouldn't send it to the department. Exactly. Okay.
And any information that is passed between the two doctors, the student doctor and the university's doctor, that is not conveyed to the Graduate Studies Office.
And not to the department either. So it is, they will just say that the clinical director will just say yes or no.
Or no,
right.
That's correct. Right. The regulation also states that students registered in graduate certificates, diplomas, taught master's degrees, or programs in which courses are delivered over a short period may, on account of poor performance, be required to withdraw. And I'll speak more on this further in my presentation. So students who are deemed to withdraw or required to withdraw in order to come back in the university system, you have to apply for readmission. And the regulation states that applicants deemed to have withdrawn may apply for readmission at any time. Students required to withdraw will be considered for readmission not less than 2 years after their withdrawal, unless the Board for Graduate Studies and Research in any particular case otherwise decides. The regulation also states that applicants readmitted may, with the approval of the campus committee, be credited with courses passed during the applicant's previous registration, provided that not more than 5 years have lapsed since the date of expiry of the applicant's previous registration for those courses, or that the course content had not changed significantly in the interval. The regulation goes on to say that in cases where a student has been required to withdraw through failure of a research paper or project report and is readmitted, the research paper or project report which is pursued must address a new topic. And just to bring to persons' attention that the previous regulation, although it says that applicants deemed to have withdrawn may apply for readmission at any time, the regulation goes further to say you must come back within 5 years. Else there's a possibility that you would have to redo the program from scratch. Effective to 2021-2022 academic year, all new graduate students will fall under the GPA grading scheme, except MPhil and PhD students.
So this means that people who are doing diplomas and
taught masters, PG certificates, PG diplomas, all of those programs will fall under the GPA system.
Okay.
Persons pursuing MPhil, PhD will not fall under the GPA system. Persons pursuing the professional doctorates, they will also fall under the GPA system. Just for noting also that our existing students will remain on the old marking scheme. And the old marking scheme has been highlighted on the left of the screen.
And existing students are people who came in last year or before?
Last year and before. Now, under the GPA system, a distinction will be awarded on the basis of a program GPA of 3.70 or above. Merit will be awarded on the basis of a program GPA of 3.00 to 3.69, and a pass will be awarded on the basis of a program GPA of 2.00 to 2.99. And just to highlight that a distinction will be awarded to a student whether you fail a course or not. Previously, students who failed a course would not be awarded that distinction. However, under the GPA system, students, once they have a GPA of 3.70, they will be awarded a distinction.
I was wondering about that because I know that for some programs, they have to pass a research paper and all that. So this GPA supersedes all other...
The research paper will be seen now as a course. And I'm going to speak more to the GPA system, scheme further again in my presentation. Now I'm on to plagiarism. What is plagiarism? And I'm sure everybody knows what is plagiarism, but I'm going to read what the graduate regulations booklet says. So according to the graduate regulations booklet, it means unacknowledged use of words, ideas, or creations of another, and includes situations where the student reuses without acknowledgement their own previously written text, ideas, or creations when writing any new work. Now, there are two levels to plagiarism. Level 1 occurs where a small quantity of the work are affected and or the breaches are minor. It includes cases of cosmetic or poor paraphrasing, negligent referencing, or incorrect or missing citations. Level 2 plagiarism occurs where large quantities of the work are affected and or the breaches are serious. It includes cases in which a significant amount of material is borrowed or directly quoted or cosmetically paraphrased with no attribution at all, or attribution insufficient to indicate that the borrowed material is not the work of the student. No, there's plagiarism in work which does not constitute a thesis or major project report. This, for example, your coursework assignment. And this regulation says once examiners are satisfied that level 1 plagiarism has been committed, they shall levy a penalty in the form of a reduction in the marks which would have otherwise been awarded. So for example, your coursework assignment, if examiners felt that you would have normally been awarded a 60%, they can levy a penalty by reducing your mark by 5%. So your letter grade will move from a B- to a C+. So if you move from a 60% to a 55%, your letter grade will move from a B- to a C+. The regulation also states that plagiarism in thesis and major project reports, this matter is referred to the Director for Graduate Studies and Research for action. And you can read further in the regulation what steps the director is required to take once this matter is brought to her attention. There's plagiarism in thesis, a major project report, or in work which does not constitute either a thesis or major project report. This too is also referred to the Director for Graduate Studies and Research.
Sorry, so what is level 2 plagiarism? Because level 1 plagiarism sounds serious. So what exactly
level
is
1 plagiarism it's minor. They said it's minor. It's maybe poor paraphrasing, poor citation.
Level 2 is if I bought a paper off the internet and submitted it.
Right, and you take a large chunk of somebody's work and put it as yours.
Okay.
And you don't highlight that it's not your work, but it's somebody else's own. So I'm now on to the section 2 of the regulation that has to do with written examinations and coursework. In order to be successful in a course, candidates are required to pass either the coursework or the written examinations and coursework. The regulation also states that where a candidate fails a course, she shall be required to repeat the fail component of the course or the entire course. So if you are doing a course that has a coursework component and an examination component and you fail the coursework component, you're only required to repeat the coursework component, not the exam that you have already passed. The regulation also states that where a candidate fail any component of a course that counts towards the final grade, whether coursework or final examination, will be deemed to have failed the course and will be assigned the grade FC or FE, meaning fail coursework or fail exam, even if they obtain an overall mark of 50% or higher. I'm going to go back to this slide. This is where the regulation is referring to. If you have received an overall mark of 50% or greater, and you fail, for example, the coursework component of the course, you will receive a FC. If you fail the exam component of the course and you have attained a grade, an overall grade of 50% or greater, and you fail the exam component of the course, you will be given an FE, meaning fail exam.
So for example, if you have a course that has 40% coursework and 60% final exam component, and you got 50 out of 60 for the final exam, but you only got 10 out of 40 for the coursework. You have
failed the
failed the
coursework.
course. Even though when you add that, you'll have got 60.
50, right. The regulation goes further to say that candidates who obtain an overall mark below 50% in a course will be assigned a grade F1, F2, or F3 based on the overall mark achieved. And this is where the regulation is referring to now. If you receive a grade below 50, so you receive a 40%, you will get a F1. If you receive a 39%, you get a F2 and so on. Once it's below 50, the overall grade is below 50, you will get a F1, F2, F3. The regulation also states that candidates must reach the threshold semester GPA of 2.00 or above to continue in the program. Academic standing will be based on the semester GPA. If a candidate's GPA falls below 2.00, the candidate will be given a warning in the first semester. If the candidate's GPA falls below 2.00 for 2 consecutive semesters, they will be required to withdraw. And when students are required to withdraw, they cannot request readmission until after 2 years has passed.
But for voluntary withdrawal?
For voluntary withdrawal, you can come back in the university system at any time, once the 5-year period has not passed. As I've indicated before, once 5 years have passed and you're out of the university system, there is a possibility where you have to redo the program from scratch because the program may change. And students who are dissatisfied with the results of their examination should report their dissatisfaction in writing to the campus registrar. So students can ask for a review or a remark of their examination script if they are dissatisfied with their results. However, this must be made within 2 weeks of publication of the results. And this request is made through our examination section. Now we are on to section 3 of the regulations booklet. So with effect from semester 2, 2020-2021 academic year, all MPhil, PhD, professional doctorate students are required to submit electronically their thesis to our office for examination. And this is done using the SPRO link, which can be accessed via SAS. SPRO is short for electronic submission of projects. Students submitting research papers, project reports for exam will continue to submit them at their department. That will be the Department of Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work. So before a student reaches a point where he or she is ready to submit the thesis for examination, there are several things that the student must ensure are in place. If these things are not in place, it may result in a delay in sending the thesis for examination. 1, students must ensure that their registration is up to date. Students must ensure that they have registered and successfully completed the correct number of credits for the 3rd graduate level courses. That is MPhil degree, 6 credits 3rd graduate level courses, PhD 9 credits, and this must be reflected on their academic record along with the grades. 3, students must ensure that they register and successfully completed their research seminars. MPhil students are required to complete 2 seminars, while PhD are required to complete 3 seminars. Students must also ensure that their thesis title is the same as the one submitted on the graduate thesis tracker.
Sorry, the seminars are 3 presentations in a conference or brown bag seminar attended by a set of supervisors.
Right. And students must also ensure that an application is submitted for examination of thesis, and this is done using the graduate thesis tracker. So on the day of submission of the thesis for examination, the following documents must be uploaded to the SPRO system. Of course, the thesis, a certificate of completion form, which is normally signed off by the supervisor, examination receipt, ethics approval letter, if applicable, Turnitin results, and publications, if applicable. There are fees.
Sorry, publications, if applicable, or if people are doing the multi-paper model, what exactly are publications, if applicable?
Some students have done publications with their supervisor.
As part of the dissertation?
Right.
Okay.
So there are fees associated with the examination of theses and research projects and research papers and projects. And the fees are highlighted on the screen. Research papers, once persons are ready to submit their paper for examination, they're expected to pay an examination fee of $1,500. MPhil, $2,000. PhD, professional doctorate, $3,000. And this fee should be paid 3 months prior to the date you're expected to submit your thesis or research paper or project report for examination. PGA pending fees are paid by students who submitted their paper for examination in 1 semester, and at the end of that semester, the examination process is not yet completed. As a result, students will be required to register in the following semester and pay the PGA pending fee, which is $2,000. And this is an important booklet to have if you are a research student. It provides information such as the layout of your thesis or research paper, the length of your thesis or research paper, the word limit, writing style. The booklet can be found on our website, the Graduate Studies and Research website, and it can be found under the heading Forms and Documents. Another important booklet to have, which has to do with the responsibilities of students and supervisors. This too can also be found on our Graduate Studies website under the heading Forms and Documents. And this is a slide just to inform students that our office is on social media. You can contact us using WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram. We also provide information for students on these platforms, such as registration deadline dates, anything that the student need to know. We try and update our social media pages with these information. And that is the end of my presentation. I want to wish all our graduate students in the Department of Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work all the best for this academic year. Thank you.
I just have one little question though. You mentioned that you also handle graduation. Can you just say a quick word about the process for that and explain to students the relationship that you have with the examination section after we hand grades into exams for the grades to be published, especially if they're dissatisfied with their grades and want to challenge those grades?
Okay, so when a student writes an exam and is dissatisfied with his or her grades, once those grades are made available on SAS, So how that process works? The department submit the mark sheets to the examinations unit. The examinations unit in turn sends the mark sheet to the Director for Graduate Studies and Research to review and to approve. Once that is done, the mark sheets are submitted to the examinations unit for them to upload the student grades on the system. It is at that time that a student grade become official, and it's at that time that you can request a review or remark of your course. You cannot request a review or remark of a course if you have gotten a mark within the department saying that you're a provisional grade within the department saying that you have failed or you have passed. You have that mark, that grade has to be on the university official website, that is SAS. And at that point, you can request a review and remark. When a student is ready for graduation, it is the department that informs the Office of Graduate Studies and Research when that student has completed all the requirements for the award of degree. Once we get that information in graduate studies, we have to do our checks and balances, meaning that we have to ensure that the student has met all the credit requirements. We have to also ensure that the student have no gaps in their registration, meaning that every semester can be accounted for. Once that is completed, a list is prepared to go to the Board for Graduate Studies and Research. And once that list goes off to the Board for Graduate Studies and Research, it is reviewed, and then a final decision is sent back to Graduate Studies whether the board may have queries or the board may approve the award of degree. Once the board has approved the award of degree, the system is updated with that information. And within 2 weeks, the student can pick up his or her graduation certificate at the examinations unit.
One perennial problem that we have is if students fail a course and have to wait to do it. So for instance, suppose they failed a semester 2 course, they don't have anything in semester 1. They're waiting for semester 2. We have a lot of people who don't bother to either ask for leave of absence for semester 1 or anything. They just ignore the university and come back in semester 2. Can you explain why that doesn't work, especially in light of what you've just said?
That doesn't work because once you have not registered in a semester, you are deemed to have withdrawn and you'll be required to request readmission. So once a student, if you don't have any courses within a semester, you must ask for leave of absence. It's very important that you ask for leave of absence. If at the point of graduation, we see any gaps in your registration, it also delayed the award of degree process. And some students are unable to meet graduation because there are gaps in their registration and we are not able to quickly sort out that issue.
Tell them what a doctorate, a professional doctorate is.
Professional doctorate is a program where students pursue courses as well as a thesis at the end of after they have completed their courses. To be awarded a high commendation for doctorate, for the professional doctorate, you have to have a GPA of 3.70. You are not allowed to fail any courses, all your courses. You have to pass them at the first sitting, and at least one of your examiners at the point of oral exam, one of your examiners would have had to indicate that they recommend you for high commendation.
That was based on the written dissertation that you had submitted.
Based on the written dissertation, yes.
All right, I think that is everything. Well, I suppose I'm going to be speaking with exam section as well. So things like how you manage your IDs, because we also have had people who've come up with more than one ID because of issues in registration. And those are,
I think that's a myth. I'm not sure why that happened.
I think that what it
I
is
know
that they
sometime, you know.
didn't apply when they ask them, were you ever a student at university? They
Right.
don't apply, and they get a new ID number.
ID
and
number.
messes up everything.
Or some persons, when they left the university, they married, they got married. And so when they apply for graduate studies, they use their married name, or sometimes they use a double barrel name, and the system is not able to recognize the person.
Yes, but it's difficult to sort out, so they have to be careful about it.
It is very difficult because the sorting out is done at MITS, and apparently it's not a very easy process. It takes months.
I've seen it take 2 years, so you know.
Olivine, I know. Yes, because I had to ask MITS, what is it that is being done? Why it takes so long?
Again,
I'm not a technical person, so I really don't understand.
I think students also don't understand that you could have 3 Olivine Thomases at the university. Exactly. So your ID number is who you are.
Yeah.
That is who you are while you're with us at the university. And it is not a matter of disrespecting you, but you have to remember there could be 3 Olivine Thomases, there could be 4 Georgia Bennetts. And we have to know it is you, this Georgia Bennett that we're talking about, this Olivine Thomas that we're talking about.
And you know what, sometimes Olivine, some students, the date of birth is incorrect.
Wow.
I remember one student asked, we need your birth certificate. Because the date that she had on her application was different from the birth certificate.
Well, I don't quite understand that one. You're
I don't understand either.
And you're applying for graduate school. But it's important, though, to understand that your ID number is who you are. In fact, you're not supposed to put your ID, your name on your papers. You're supposed to put your ID number and all that sort of thing. Those are exam irregularities.
It's actually a breach of regulations to put your name.
Yes, so what we will be speaking with the exam section to really get into that kind of thing. But I just wanted, the more they hear these kinds of things, is the more it will sink in. And we don't also want to be brought up for any sort of exam irregularity because if you've gone to court. So, you know. But thank you so much. Thank you. I think this is far clearer now. It's certainly some of the things have been cleared up for me personally. And of course, there are things that the students will have been hearing for the first time, especially if those students did not come to us at UWI for undergraduate work.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem, Olivine.
I really appreciate you doing this for us. All right, so warm regards, warm regards. All right.
Same here, bye.
Well,